for another edition of Bet. I'm your host, Anita Marks. We've got some heavy hitters on the show today, and of course we would. Tiger Woods is teeing it up at the Genesis. We also are going to talk some NBA. Brian Windhorst is going to join us. All the action that took place before the trade deadline. Now the NBA taking a break. It is All-Star Weekend. What can we expect once the fellas return? And Erin Dolan is going to join us on the show with some NBA picks and plays for you as well. And we'll have some college basketball action during the show. But Mark Schlabach is joining us now. Does a great job covering golf. He's out at the Genesis. Talks to some Tiger. Anytime Tiger tees it up, right? It is front and center. So let's dive into it. The last time we saw Tiger was back in July, right? He didn't even make the cut in the British Open. We saw him play a little golf with his son, Charlie. So heading into this tournament, what are our expectations? What is Tiger saying about how he feels right now, Mark?
Well, Anita, Tiger said he wouldn't be out here if he didn't think he could compete, if he didn't think he had a chance to win this event. But I think we've got to have some realistic expectations. He's 47 years old. He hasn't played a competitive round at an official event in 7 months. He only played 9 rounds last year in 3 major championships. Had to pull out of the PGA Championship after 54 holes because of his right leg. But he said the right leg feels better than it did a year ago. Said he's still having problems with his right ankle, still dealing with a nagging case of plantar fasciitis in his right foot. But all in all, he looked pretty good in the Pro-Am on Wednesday morning. Didn't play the last couple of holes. Not sure if that was because of the leg or just really disinterest in playing with some pretty bad players. But he was able to climb the steps above the 18th green and didn't have any problems with them.
Yeah, Mark, you said, listen, we've got to be realistic here, but what we know, people love rooting for Tiger, and they love putting some money on Tiger. He is plus money right now, plus 150 just to make the cut. And we know how great Tiger is, right? We know how competitive he is. Would that be a win in his category? Is it sufficient enough for him just to make the cut this weekend?
I mean, it's remarkable that he made the cut twice last year. He made the cut at the Masters and finished 47th, I believe, in his first event back after that horrific car wreck back in February 2021. He made the cut in terrible weather conditions at Southern Hills at the PGA Championship and had to pull out after 54 holes. But, if I'm betting on anybody to make the cut, it's probably Tiger Woods. It's remarkable. This is his tournament. This is a tournament that benefits his foundation. He's never won at Riviera. So I think that's something that's probably in the back of his head as well. But, the big question going forward this week and in any other tournament where he tees it up, can that right leg and right foot and right ankle hold up over 72 holes? But to worry about the cut, it's only got to happen for 36 holes.
Mark, let's look back before we look forward. Scottie Scheffler won last week in Phoenix at the Waste Management and then made him the #1 golfer, right, with the FedEx Cup point standings. But you've got Rory and you got Jon Rahm lurking right now. What's the buzz? What's the talk? I think this is going to be a really fun season, maybe a lot more parity than we've seen in years past on the PGA Tour. What's the talk right now, the buzz over being #1 for Scottie after this last week?
Yeah, I think you can argue any of those 3 guys could be #1 in the world right now. Rory was asked a little while ago about losing the #1 ranking after holding it since the Tour Championship. He said it could possibly be a little bit of a hot potato between him and Scottie and Jon Rahm. Rahm has probably been the most consistent. Didn't have his best game in Phoenix last week. Still managed to pull out a solo 4th. Scottie Scheffler coming off another big win. That's 5 since the beginning of last season. Nobody's got more wins than he does right now. He's kind of turned into a big game hunter. If it's a big event, if there's a big purse, if it's a competitive field, he usually is near the top. So I would expect him to be in contention again this week.
Yeah, so what we know about Riviera is that this is a shot maker's course, especially those who have great fades. With that being said, the cut line has been over par the last 10 years at this event. Do you anticipate the same thing this season?
Yeah, it's a shot maker's course. It's a tough course. You got to be able to move the ball. You got to play really well around the greens. You got to be accurate off the tee, accurate on approach. The green is a little bit thicker than it has been in the past. The wind's howling pretty good today for the Pro-Am. It's supposed to die down the next couple of days, but I would not be surprised at all to see the cut at over par.
Mark, before we let you go, we've always got to find out about the weather. It plays such a major role in each and every tournament. What can we expect out there on the left coast this weekend?
It was a heck of a lot colder than I expected for Southern California this morning. The temperature was about 41 degrees, wind chills in the teens when Tiger teed off about 6:30 a.m. Pacific in the Pro-Am. It's supposed to warm up. Like I said, I don't think the wind is going to be as much of a factor as it was on Wednesday. But, the rough, like I said, it's rained a lot out here. The rough's juicier and thicker than it has been the last few years, according to some guys I talked to. So you have to keep it in the fairway, keep it on the green to have a chance to win probably.
Mark, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the tournament the next 4 days.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, so Tiger Woods, in talking to Mark, what did we learn? Yeah, this is his first time playing in 7 months. We know his last time he played competitively, he missed the cut at the British Open. Longest odds prior to this tournament for Tiger to win a tournament was 80-1. Heading into this tournament, he's 120-1. What does that tell you? There's some competition that's going to be teeing it up here as well. 9 of the world's top 10 players are teeing it up at Riviera this week. And here's another interesting stat for you. Out of the 59 winners, 34 of the 59 are major winners as well. It just goes to show you how competitive of a tournament this is. So with that being said, am I going to throw some money on Tiger making the cut? I'm going to go even one step further. I'm going to throw some money down on Tiger finishing in the top 40. You can get it at 2-1. Why not? If anything, it's great rooting for Tiger, right? This is a tournament, again, this benefits his foundation. He's never won it, but I do feel if we just put a little bit of coin, a little bit of change on Tiger, it'll be even that much more exciting to root for him. Hopefully it makes the cut. It definitely makes the tournament a lot more exciting when we're watching Tiger tee it up 4 days in a row. Tyler Fulgham, my partner in crime, many of days here on Bet, is on vacation, but he still has some plays for you in this tournament. So let's take a look. How is Tyler playing the Genesis? He's all over John Day to win the tournament at 40-1. Jason Day to win the tournament at 40-1. I do like that. He's got Decky finishing in the top 20 at plus 190, and he has Tiger Woods missing the cut. No, Tyler, come on, man. All right, I understand. It's at minus 190. It's a lot of juice to put down for Tiger to fail. We'll see what happens. Our conversation with Mark didn't seem so confident either. How am I playing the Genesis? Well, I'm focusing on a lot of the golfers who play well on the left coast, and none better than Colin Morikawa. And I've got him to win at 20-1. He is the stud of the Golden State. As we know, he won a major not too far from San Francisco. He's one of the best players on tour with that fade. And guys who can fade the ball well definitely have an advantage on this track. 7th in strokes gained tee to green and 6th on approach. Also 13th off the tee. And even though putting, he's hot and cold, a lot of times he putts extremely well at Riviera, and apparently these greens are running about a 12 rate. Another metric you want to pay attention to is par 4 scoring. Top 5 finish, give me Schauffele to finish in the top 5 because he's 5th in strokes gained tee to green, another important metric, and he's 7th in par 4 scoring. 5 times he's teed it up at Riviera, and he's never finished anything worse than 23. And he tied for 10th at Phoenix, so you know his game is on point. And last but not least, the top 20, give me Adam Scott. This is his favorite course. This is his favorite tournament. He's played this 15 years now. He's won it twice, and twice he's been the bridesmaid. So this is a course that fits his game to a T. And again, he loves this track. So for me to get Adam Scott to finish in the top 20 at plus 210, I think that's easy money. Let's go from the links to the hardwood. Brian Windhorst joins us now. Brian, great to have you on Bet. So much has happened the last, week and a half in regard to the NBA trade deadline. So much action. Let's break it down. None better, of course, than KD going to Phoenix. The Lakers got better. Kyrie going to Dallas. With all the action, who do you feel has made the best moves that now you feel are in the driver's seat to win the NBA championship, Brian?
Yeah, as far as the moves that improve the title odds, I think really only one team. I know there's been a little bit of movement on the Mavericks, but the Suns just traded for one of the top 5 players in the league, and they were already a championship contender. Now, they've been absolutely riddled by injuries throughout the middle of this season, but they started the season 15-6. And now they're just getting healthy. And so even though Durant hasn't played with them yet, and he's not going to play with them in their last game before the All-Star break Thursday night against the Clippers, they've won 5 of their last 6. And they're starting to look pretty good. And the teams in front of them are not that far in front of them. So Durant is probably going to come back either right after the All-Star break or during a 4-game road trip that they have that shortly begins after that. And I think this is going to be an offensive juggernaut. And not only that, but they've had a couple of role players sort of blossom while the other guys have been out. You know, Devin Booker was out for a while. Chris Paul was out for a while. Josh Okogie, and they just signed Damian Lee is leading the league in three-point shooting. And they just signed Terrence Ross. There's a little bit of a competition for him in the buyout market, and they may be even able to add another player. So if there's a team that truly looks like they can be a championship contender after these moves, it's got to be Phoenix. I think they were a contender anyway when fully healthy.
So your guy LeBron, unfortunately, doesn't get Kyrie, the guy that, of course, everybody is reporting he wanted to make his way to LA and rejoin forces with LeBron James. But I do like what the Lakers have done. Now they are plus 105 to just make it in to the playoffs in that play-in tournament. But now there's some reports that LeBron's dealing with an ankle issue. So just out of curiosity, would you even play them to make it into the play-in tournament this year, Brian?
I got to tell you, I don't like almost any Laker bet ever because the price is never right because they always take advantage of the Laker fans who's going to bet on their team. I realize that all fans bet on their team, but the Laker fans, it is obscene. And I have seen some prices for Laker bets over the last 5 years that are just make me totally want to, abandon the system. For example, Russell Westbrook being the favorite up until recently for Sixth Man of the Year. That should have been 100-1 instead of being the favorite. So I would say just in general, never bet on the Lakers on everything because the price will always be bad. Having said that, I do think if LeBron stays healthy, they've got a chance to be a play-in team because the teams in front, there's a couple of teams in front of them that are not interested in being in that zone, particularly Utah. They're gonna definitely come backwards. And Zion Williamson just had an extended injury. He's have a setback even further. I think the Pelicans are going to keep falling. The Lakers play them tonight. I would almost say it's a must-win game for that. The problem, of course, is what you just mentioned. We're not really sure what the health of LeBron is. He tweaked his foot the same night he set the record, and he hasn't been back since. Now, he was upgraded to questionable for tonight. If you're betting on the Lakers to make the play-in, the real bet that you're making is that LeBron's going to be able to play a majority of the games. And I just don't have a good enough feel for that. I don't think he does either at this point.
As I said, Kyrie did not end up in LA, but he did end up in Dallas, right? So now it's Kyrie and Luka, that 1-2 punch. They look great. They're averaging 50 total points combined. They've won some, they've lost some, but they are 14-1 to win the NBA title. Is there any part of you, Brian, that you think Luka and Kyrie can pull that off?
I just don't think they can win 4 series with the defensive alignment that they have. They've been explosive offensively. They played Minnesota the other night. They lost that game, but the two of them combined for 71 points. And I think we're going to see that quite a bit. They've played together on the court for 58 minutes so far this season, and they've scored 146 points in those 58 minutes. I mean, that's number one offense in the league type territory. They've also given up 140 points in those minutes. So one thing I would say about Dallas, before you seriously wager on them, right after the All-Star break, they're supposed to get Maxi Kleber back. He is their best defensive center. He injured his hamstring in December, needed surgery. He's coming back after the break. I might watch them a little bit after Kleber comes back to see if their defense improves, because I do think he could be a difference maker. And I know that the odds may fall a little bit, but before I would feel good about saying, yeah, this team can win 16 playoff games, I kind of want to see how them adding him might make a difference.
Talking about wagering on the Mavs. They've got a big game tonight against the Denver Nuggets. This line just about an hour ago was they were getting 5. Now they're getting 4. How would you play it? Mavs +4? Would you wager on it tonight, Brian?
I liked it better at 5.5 when I saw it a couple hours ago. You know, the Nuggets are the best team in the league at home. They're 26-4. But one of those losses is to Dallas earlier this season, and the Mavericks are 2-1 against the Nuggets. They have a little bit of an edge against them. Plus, 2 of the Denver starters are a little banged up. Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray both questionable for this game. So I would wait until after we get a good injury report on whether those guys are playing. But at 5.5, I really liked it. At 4, not as much. But I expect Dallas to have a real shot at this game. I felt comfortable at 5.5, giving them a shot. 4, I got a really sad injury report.
Brian, great having you on Bet. Hopefully, after the All-Star game, we'll see your face here even more so as we do a deeper dive into the NBA as we get closer to the postseason. Great having you on, Brian. Thank you. Enjoy the All-Star weekend.
Thank you.
With that being said, let's bring in Erin Dolan. Let's talk about some NBA picks and plays. Erin, this is my first time seeing you since the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. My heart goes out to you, my friend. I'm so sorry. Very, very disappointing. I know you and I were both all over the Eagles, but my condolences, my friend.
Yes. I appreciate that. It was a really tough way to lose, and to be in this city and in that atmosphere. You know, obviously you want the outcome for a win, so you have a parade, the whole shebang. But, you know, now we're making NBA picks. So what are we going to do about that? We're just going to push on forward and look ahead.
Let's do it. And we just spoke, as you just heard, Brian was on. He's giving the Mavs a chance. Of course, who wouldn't want the Mavs at +5.5? Now it's down to 4. The over-under is 234. How are you playing this one tonight?
I'm going with the player prop tonight and looking at Luka to go over 8.5 rebounds. Now, I do think this is a great evenly matched matchup. I know that the line is 5.5, but I really am not looking towards the spread in this one. As for Luka, the last 3 times that he's played against the Denver Nuggets, he's gone over 8.5 rebounds. We know they're a dog in this spot, considering the line, and I do think he's going to have to play a lot of minutes in order for them to be successful in this game, which also could help him get over 8.5 rebounds. And I know everybody's talking about Kyrie Irving now on this team, but that's not really going to affect Luka's rebounding by any means. Not to mention, if you break down this Denver defense, they're actually bottom 10 in the league in terms of opponent rebounding, so I just expect him in this big matchup to come up big, have a good stat line, but I do like him specifically to go over 8.5 rebounds tonight.
Yeah, I'm playing the Denver Nuggets tonight, right? They've won 6 of their last 8. They've won 2 straight. They're great at home, 4-0 against the spread at home their last 4 games, which, by the way, they're winning by an average of 12 points. So I don't mind laying the 4. Hopefully Jordan and Murray are back. We'll know as we get closer to tip-off. As for the Mavs, I'm excited to see the end result for Kyrie and Luka coming together, but I still think that they're still finding their way. There's missing pieces here for the Mavs. And here's another thing, Erin, and I'm going to have some fun with this. I'm going to play every home NBA team tonight because this is the last game before the All-Star break. And so typically, guys that can't wait to get to the All-Star break or can't wait to get on that vacation if they're not going to the All-Star break, I just think there's an advantage for home teams tonight, the last game before the All-Star break. So another reason why I'm leaning towards the Nuggets. The other game is that we know it's the Cavs. I'm wearing the D-Mitch shirt right now, going up against the 76ers. It's a pick 'em now. The over-under is 216.5. What's your play here?
Sixers money line in this one. And you made a great point, Anita, just there about these games are before the All-Star break. And it's really tough to bet in these games because some people, their heads might not be in it whatsoever. Some players might be resting and whatnot. But I do think that the Philadelphia 76ers can get it done because they're playing at home tonight. Not to mention the Cavaliers, they've won the last 7 straight games. So they beat the Grizzlies, Pacers, Wizards, Pistons, Pelicans, Bulls, and Spurs. Philly is just a totally different animal, especially playing at home. Now, the Cavs beat them earlier this season, 113 to 85. But keep in mind in that game, they didn't have James Harden. They also didn't have Tyrese Maxey. So with those 2 players playing tonight, I know Joel Embiid is probable or questionable, but I do think he will play in this one. His player props are already up. I do think that the outcome will be much better, and I would just rather take one of these teams to win outright rather than mess around with any of the other markets. So give me Sixers on the money line at home.
I like it. I've got a small lean towards the Sixers. Curious, like you said, Embiid dealing with a foot issue. Will he be active and attractive? Not sure. 76ers 22-8 straight up at home, 20-10 against the spread at home. So I'm with you there. But I feel the play here is the under, right? Two top defenses in the NBA. They both play a very slow pace type of game. Number 1 defensive rating, number 1 in points per game for the Cavs. Good half-court defense as well. And the Cavs are last pace of play in the NBA. So I just think it's going to be a slow, methodical game. And if Embiid doesn't play, wow, I love the under even more. The Heat are going up against the Nets. Nets favored by 1.5. The over-under's 211.5. What side are you on?
I'm taking the Heat on the money line, and this game did jump out to me earlier today, thinking about, okay, is somebody on the Heat not playing? That's super important, because I just couldn't figure out why they weren't favored over the Brooklyn Nets. But when you've seen these teams play against each other earlier this season, you had the Nets, they won by 1 point, but keep in mind, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were on the team at the time. The Miami Heat should blow this team out if you look at this Nets team as a whole now. In the last 3 games, they got 1 win, but they did really struggle in the second half of games as of recently in the past 2. They only put up 14 points in the fourth quarter on the Sixers, not to mention they were outscored 44-26 in the final 14 minutes against the Knicks. So they did drop the past 2 games. The Miami Heat has enough on offense to get it done, put up enough points to beat a team like the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm going to take Miami on the money line tonight for that game.
So I have a small lean towards the Nets. Again, I'm going to have some fun with this tonight and play a lot of the home teams the night before the All-Star break. But I look at this Heat team. I mean, they're infirmary, and they have been for the last week plus, right? Lowry's out, Hero's out, Oladipo's out. 1-5 against the spread. Their last 6 games, 0-4 against the spread on 1-day rest, and that's what they're heading into tonight. They do have the 4th best defense, and for the Nets, Claxton, excellent defensive player, and because of what has happened here with the trade, I think the Nets are another team trying to find their groove, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So my play here is the under. I do have a small lean towards the Nets, but my play here is the under at 211.5. Last but not least, the Pelicans going up against the Lakers. We heard Brian talk about it. This is a must-win game for the Lakers because they're trying to stay pace and get into the postseason. So I do believe we'll see LeBron play tonight. Time will tell. Lakers are favored by 5. The over-under is 234.5. How are you playing this one?
I'm looking at Brandon Ingram to go over 26.5 points. Now, he's averaging 25 points in the 8 games that he has been back. But if you look in that stretch of games, he did play the Lakers. He had 35 points against them. I also think if you look at the total, it's on the higher side. The last meeting between these two, it was very, very high total. So points will be scored in this one, and the team should rely on Brandon Ingram. Not to mention, if you look at the Lakers defense, they're bottom 10 in the league for the entire season in terms of defensive rating. I know the Lakers have a lot to play for this game, but it doesn't mean that their defense is suddenly going to get better. And Brandon Ingram is such an integral part for that offense for the Pelicans that I do think he'll at least get over 26.5 points heading into All-Star break.
This is what I love about Ingram. I'm with you, especially if CJ McCollum is out. I like over assists for him tonight, Erin, at 5.5. Because if the Lakers do, I think his usage is going to get the points you need. But also, I think the Lakers defense are going to do everything they can to try to, contain him. And I think he's going to be dishing the ball a lot. So actually, my favorite prop bet in this is Ingram over 5.5 assists. But my play here is the Lakers. Again, as we talked to Brian, I think this is a must-win game for them. I do expect LeBron to play. And I think they're looking to make a splash here, right? This will be one of the first games with LeBron and AD and D'Lo and Beasley and Vando. And so I'm excited to see what they're going to look like. Also, this is a revenge game for them. Don't forget the Pelicans. They came back a few days ago. I would say they were down by 11 and came back and beat them as well. I think the big key here for the Pelicans is going to be to try to get the Lakers to play that half-court offense, which I don't think that they're going to be very successful in doing, right? I think it's going to be the run-and-gun show for the Lakers. I think they're going to play very fast-paced. So I do like the over in this matchup. Erin, I know we'll see you a little bit later on Daily Wager, right? Don't forget, ESPN 2, 6 to 7 p.m., so we'll see you then.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
All right. You got it. Another good reason to tune in to Daily Wager later on tonight, again, 6 o'clock on ESPN 2. As always, we like to end bet with, before I let you go, so let's talk about some college hoops action, right? It's about that time. We're less than a month away from March Madness, so time to start getting in the know with a lot of these teams. My first play tonight, Alabama going up against Tennessee. I love the under here. Should I use the word shocked? Maybe a little. I'm shocked that this line is 148. I think it's super, super high considering you're talking about two of the best defenses in college basketball, right? I also have a small lean towards Tennessee. They've lost their last two games on 3-point buzzer beaters. I think they're a much better team than what their record indicates. But nonetheless, why do I like the under? Tennessee, best 3-point shooting defense, second best field goal percentage defense against their opponents, obviously. Third best scoring defense. They're holding teams to 56 points a game. And Bama, second best defense, again, in college basketball. So I do love the under here at 148. And last but not least, might be my favorite play, and that's Texas A&M laying the points. I'll lay the 3.5 against Arkansas. They are 12-1 at home. They are fighting for their tournament life. This is a revenge spot for them as well. They lost to Arkansas back in January, 81-70. They had an off night from the free throw line. Typically, A&M is one of the best free throw shooting teams in college basketball, but they were just horrendous that night. I don't expect a repeat performance. They've got great interior defense. They are going to win the battle off the glass. And Arkansas, Nick Smith is back for them. And it's been a minute trying to get him into a groove, getting him in, he's starting and working in that starting rotation, just trying to find their way. And I don't think that Arkansas has found that magic yet. So again, Alabama and Tennessee, the 8, and I love Texas A&M. I'll lay the 3.5 against Arkansas. I want to thank all our guests tonight here on Bet, getting you ready for NBA action. Looking forward to the futures market, some college, and Tiger Woods teeing up tomorrow at the Genesis Open at Riviera. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Bet. See you at Daily Wager at 6 o'clock tonight.